National City, California is a small city in San Diego County, known for its rich history, diverse community, and proximity to San Diego itself. It is one of the oldest cities in the region, with a mix of residential, commercial, and industrial industries. National City was home to teenager Hannah Anderson, who became the centre of national attention in 2013 when she was abducted by a family friend after he brutally murdered her mother and younger brother. The case sparked a massive multi-state search that ended in dramatic fashion in Idaho. 16-year-old Hannah Marie Anderson was part of a close-knit family in Lakeside, California, which included her holistic health practitioner mother, Christina Tina Anderson, and her, quote, funny and fearless younger brother, Ethan, and her father, Brett. Her parents were, according to some reports, separated at the time, but Hannah primarily lived with her mother and brother. Despite these circumstances, the Anderson family were very close. Hannah was an active teenager who enjoyed participating in various school activities. She was a member of her high school's cheerleading team, which she was passionate about and dedicated a significant amount of time to. In addition to cheerleading, Hannah enjoyed dancing, spending time with her friends and family, engaging in typical teenage pastimes such as socializing, attending school events, participating in outdoor activities, and of course, texting her friends. She was known for her friendly demeanour and was well liked amongst her peers. She was described as strong, bubbly, and funny. On August the 3rd of 2013, a family friend, 40-year-old James Jim DiMaggio, a telecommunications technician working in San Diego, invited Tina Anderson and her children, 16-year-old Hannah and 8-year-old Ethan, to his home in Boulevard, allegedly to bid farewell before he planned to move to Texas due to his house being in foreclosure, something later discovered to be a lie. DiMaggio was best friends with Hannah and Ethan's father, Brett, who had first met each other through their work, and he was very much considered an uncle to the children. They would often go camping, shooting, and fishing together. Jim would often drive Hannah to gymnastics, but had made a comment in passing, driving her and a friend home one day, which left the 16-year-old somewhat concerned. DiMaggio had openly told Hannah that he would happily date her if they were the same age. Hannah was somewhat unnerved by this comment. During another occasion, when driving to Los Angeles, DiMaggio snapped at Hannah for, quote, not paying him enough attention. Hannah openly voiced her concerns about Jim to her closest friends, saying that she was creeped out by him and didn't like being alone with him. After this, Hannah started communicating with Jim less and less, and didn't visit his property as often as she once had. Hannah and her best friend, Marissa Chavez, were looking to do something new in the summer of 2013, when Hannah suggested the pair visit her Uncle Jim's cabin in Boulevard, California. Hannah's parents trusted Jim and happily let her visit. Jim often let Hannah host friends there at the cabin to hang out and even have parties where he allowed underage drinking and smoking, something which Hannah's parents did not approve of. Jim never appeared to have any qualms about allowing the girls on his property, nor did he prevent them from doing whatever they wanted, though did allegedly voice that he was uncomfortable with the girls bringing boys to his cabin, and they were forbidden from going upstairs for unknown reasons. After Hannah withdrew much of her contact with Jim, he messaged her on social media to apologise for his inappropriate behaviour. The Anderson family, who lived about 45 miles away in Lakeside, decided to stay the night at DiMaggio's cabin on August the 3rd of 2013, much to the dismay of 16-year-old Hannah, who did not want to go. Meanwhile, Brett Anderson, the children's father, was away on a 3-month work assignment in Tennessee. In the early hours of the morning, Hannah had been texting her best friend Marissa about meeting up after cheerleading camp that day. The girls made solid arrangements to meet at Hannah's house, but Marissa never heard from her. Her phone fell eerily silent. Brett, Hannah's father, also couldn't get a hold of her, Tina, or Ethan. But then, the following afternoon, after another friend had texted Marissa telling her to turn on the news, what happened to Hannah came to the fore, leaving her friend and all who loved her terrified and in a state of shock. The next day, on August the 4th, an inferno erupted at Jim DiMaggio's cabin, and when firefighters arrived at the property, with the cabin being nothing but rubble and ash, they uncovered a horrific scene. The bodies of both Christina Anderson, aged 42, covered in a tarpaulin in the garage, and her young son, 8-year-old Ethan, along with the family dog, Callie, who had been shot and buried in a sleeping bag. Following the discovery, authorities swiftly issued an arrest warrant for Jim DiMaggio, as 16-year-old Hannah was nowhere to be found, feared to be abducted. On that same day, Christina's parents had made a desperate call to the police, reporting their grandchildren as missing. This urgent plea led authorities to issue a statewide Amber Alert, this being California's first ever alert sent directly to cell phones. At this particular time, investigators had yet to confirm the identity of the child's body found in the charred remains of DiMaggio's cabin. As a result, the alert itself listed both Hannah and Ethan as missing. Within hours, their missing persons poster had been shared thousands of times across social media, across the US, and beyond. What followed was an intense manhunt, spanning the entire Pacific coast, stretching from Canada to Mexico, as law enforcement raced against time to track down the missing brother and sister. Weeks following the fire, in late September of 2013, the San Diego County Medical Examiner's Office released chilling autopsy findings in relation to Christina and the then identified Ethan. Christina had been brutally assaulted, her ankles bound with plastic cable ties, duct tape wrapped around her neck and her mouth, and her body showing multiple fractures, including a deep cut on her neck. She had suffered at least 12 blows to the head. Ethan's autopsy revealed that he had perished in the fire, though skeletal fractures suggested he endured significant trauma prior to his death. In DiMaggio's burned-out home and garage, authorities did discover incendiary devices, a gas can, rolls of duct tape, ammunition, arson wire, used condoms, a map of Yosemite, and a number of letters. It was later discovered that DiMaggio had received handwritten letters from Hannah, and the two had spoken over the phone over a dozen times just prior to the murders. An affidavit prevented specific details of these letters and phone calls from being divulged to the public. While sifting through further evidence at DiMaggio's log cabin, which he had deliberately set alight using timed incendiary devices, investigators found trash bags in the attic which contained myriads of boxes and packaging for various camping items, but more disturbingly, a pair of handcuffs. This in itself elevated authorities' fears that Hannah had been taken against her will, however, gave them a new lead to investigate wilderness areas. On August the 7th, a group of horseback riders in Cascade in Ohio spotted two people who looked strikingly similar to Jim DiMaggio and Hannah Anderson, the latter wearing a pair of pajama-like trousers, acting oddly, avoiding eye contact with the two horse riders, and holding a tabby cat, all of which the horseback riders found incredibly strange. Neighbours knew Jim adored his tabby cat, and to see people out in the wilderness, ill-equipped and with an animal, was a huge red flag. After seeing a news report about the abduction on the TV, the duo quickly alerted authorities of their bizarre run-in with the pair, setting off a critical breakthrough in the case. That same day, investigators, which now also included the FBI and US Marshals, located DiMaggio's abandoned blue Nissan Versa near the Frank Church River of No Return wilderness, approximately 1,000 miles away from San Diego. The license plates had been removed, and the vehicle was hidden beneath brush, a clear attempt to evade capture. On August the 9th, aerial FBI surveillance footage captured what appeared to be a man, a young girl, and a cat near Moorhead Lake, law enforcement believing to have found Hannah and her captor. On August the 10th, after meticulously planning their every move, law enforcement discovered DiMaggio's remote campsite after witnessing the young girl waving a piece of bright orange fabric. As they closed in near Moorhead Lake, an FBI tactical agent fatally shot DiMaggio at 5:21 p.m. after he fired at least one shot at officers. DiMaggio was struck 6 times in the head, arms, and upper torso, bringing the harrowing manhunt to an end. Hannah, found at the scene, had no visible injuries, but was immediately taken to a hospital for crisis counselling. When later asked if she was relieved that DiMaggio was dead, she didn't hesitate. Quote, "Absolutely, yes." Hannah later revealed that DiMaggio had threatened to kill her and anyone who tried to save her, making the rescue all the more urgent. Though at the time some believed Hannah was complicit with DiMaggio, the sheriff stated that she was, quote, "a victim in every sense of the word," and that she did not comply with DiMaggio, going with him unwillingly due to his threats of harm against her and her family. Hannah told authorities that after cheerleading on August the 3rd, Jim collected her and drove her back to his cabin, of the firm belief that her mother and her brother would be there, but they weren't. Tina's vehicle was missing from the drive. However, upon entering the cabin, Hannah noticed her mother's belongings scattered across a table. When she questioned Jim about the whereabouts of her mother, he said that she was in the garage with the family dog. Hannah then heard muffled noises coming from upstairs, which she knew was her brother, Ethan. DiMaggio then instructed her to wear the handcuffs he had brought with him. He then revealed a small black gun and told her that he was struggling. He then demonstrated Russian roulette with the gun, which frightened the 16-year-old. He then told her of his desire to head towards Idaho's wilderness. Scared for herself and for her family, Hannah screamed, to which DiMaggio responded by telling her to be quiet or he would kill her. He went to deal with Ethan upstairs before an eerie silence ensued. Petrified, Hannah told DiMaggio that she felt unwell, to which he responded by giving her painkillers. She then woke up, handcuffed in his vehicle, before the pair later arrived in the wilderness, where they camped in a small blue tent, where Hannah continued to remain in cuffs. After a few days, the pair became lost, and Jim decided it was best to signal for forest rangers. His plan was to threaten them and take their horses so they could move elsewhere, but this didn't unfold in the way he was expecting. It was then Hannah waved the bright orange sleeping bag cover at the FBI aircraft, not knowing, of course, they were there to rescue her. Authorities moved in and rescued Hannah after an intense few hours and killed Jim DiMaggio after he was convinced by Hannah to fire warning shots in order to get forest rangers' attention. True motive for the abduction and the murders has never been fully established, though many believe DiMaggio had become infatuated with Hannah. He was extremely involved with the Anderson family after meeting Brett and Christina for the first time when she was 6 months pregnant with Hannah. In 2011, 2 years prior to the murders, DiMaggio added the children's grandmother as a beneficiary to his life insurance, as he lived with her at the time. He wanted the funds to go directly to both of the children, and not to Brett or Tina, as he, quote, didn't trust them to handle the finances well. What DiMaggio had planned for himself and Hannah is a secret he took to his grave, leaving that lingering question of which we will never get an answer. Hannah Anderson's story is one of both survival and heartbreak. While it is a relief that Jim DiMaggio can never harm anyone ever again, his death does not undo the devastating loss of Tina and Ethan Anderson. Hannah and her father Brett have had to navigate life without two of the most important people in their world, a pain that no justice can truly erase. Though Hannah survived her abduction, the scars, both visible and invisible, remain. Her resilience in the face of such tragedy is remarkable, but the impact of that fateful event will stay with her forever.